Welcome back to Characters. My name is Laura. Thanks so much for tuning in today for a conversation with my friend Jill Badlotto. She's a content creator with an incredible depth of knowledge on millennial pop culture and Real Housewives. Today we have a fun conversation about Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip. Below I'll have my links as well as Jill's links. And let us know what you think of Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip. How are you liking the season? Who do you want to see more from? What changes would you have made? These are all things we discuss and I can't wait to hear your opinions. You can leave me a comment on Spotify or YouTube, and let's get into it. Enjoy the episode. Jill, welcome. How are you?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Good. I am so excited to talk to you about Housewives and Ultimate Girls Trip. I was saying to you beforehand, I can't think of anyone else who is more qualified to speak on the mix of all the cast.
Thank you. That literally warms my heart.
Before we get into Ultimate Girls Trip, tell me about your Housewives favorites. What is your favorite cast, either historically or today? How are you feeling about the Housewives universe today?
Oh my God, that is such a hard question. I would say favorite cast is just like old school Real Housewives of Atlanta. I think that there is no better Real Housewives than that. Like, that should be required viewing for anybody who wants to even have an opinion on pop culture, needs to watch old school Real Housewives of Atlanta. It's required reading in my book. Um
100% I agree.
yeah.
I agree. There's no Housewives without Atlanta, and there's no Atlanta without Nene.
Yes, 1,000%, which is, I'm just so glad that she's on Ultimate Girls Trip because I don't think it would have been proper to celebrate 20 years without having Nene Leakes somewhat a part of it.
I agree.
I
Agree with you about old shows.
I will say that I do love going back and watching Real Housewives of Orange County the first season. I think just because it really does capture like those mid 2000s so well. If you watch it between the fashion, the things that they talk about, like Slade kind of having all of this money and then we know that he kind of loses it in the financial crisis. It's like such a good, it really like encapsulates that point in time so well. So I think that that is such an interesting season to go back and watch. I also, it taps into my own nostalgia because I was like in college watching it and watching these, their kids and relating to their kids. And now I'm like more relating to the housewives as I get older, which is wild. So I will say I do love watching that too. And as far as like new cast, I think that Salt Lake City is just so good. So good.
No, yes to both points. I think old OC is also very interesting in like the history of reality television, like more widely.
Yes.
Thinking about the way that the stories have changed and like how conflicts evolve and the involvement of children even, which I feel
Mhm.
like today I hate seeing people talk too much about their kids, which I feel like is something we're seeing now on OC. But
Yes.
like old reality television where it was about a woman and her family just looked at it in such a different light.
Yes. Yes. And also just I think because like now you kind of see kids and you're like you feel like maybe the parents are trying to like, get like kind of like promote themselves through their children, if that makes sense. Going on
Yes.
reality TV, you're becoming this brand, you're selling things. And so it kind of feels a little cheap. But back then, they were just showing their life and their moms. So they're going to show their kids. But then we wouldn't hear from the kids. We wouldn't, see them all over social media. So it felt more innocent, for lack of better
Yeah.
terms, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right. I think you're right. And even today, when we have a woman on any Real Housewives cast that can be centered outside of her motherhood, it feels very of the time. And it
Yes.
feels like Real Housewives can continue to document women in their 40s and 50s and 60s
Yes.
outside of who they are in the home.
Yeah.
And that's really special. But that's also not exactly how it started.
Right.
But it wasn't, it was like, it was just a different time where you could look at it differently.
Yes, yes, very differently. I also think like back then, they did have more going on than just being moms. Like you look at Vicki Gunvalson. I mean, she was this like amazing businesswoman and she really was kind of like the anchor of Real Housewives of Orange County. So, not to say that motherhood wasn't a big part of her storyline because it was, but we know Vicki as Kodo Insurance because that's how she started, you know.
Which I feel like is a perfect segue to talk about her on Ultimate Girls Trip
Yes.
because I am dying at how the other women are making fun of her for selling insurance to them.
Yes, I was dying at that scene where they were dancing and talking about insurance.
Saying, "Oh, I'm about to die."
Yes.
Portia's really leaning into it too, which is so funny.
I love it. I was absolutely cracking up.
Seeing Vicki get made fun of also feels like a great way to ground Ultimate Girls Trip in a little bit more reality.
Mhm.
Because Vicki is someone who is kind of held on a pedestal, like continues to be referred to as like this longtime anchor on OC. And on this cast, that status doesn't really matter because everyone is an anchor on their cast.
Yes,
So being able to make fun of Vicki could only happen in this format.
agreed. I agree. I feel like if it happened on Orange County, which we're from previews, it seems like we're going to kind of see that with Carmela, that she kind of humbles Vicky a little bit, and it's kind of shocking that she would ever dare do that. But with Ultimate Girls Trip, it's like she's with Teresa Giudice, she's with Portia, she's with Lisa. Like they can do that.
Absolutely. How do you feel about the women on the cast of Ultimate Girls Trip? Do you feel like all of these were the right choices?
I do. I do. I think that they're all so much fun. I think I would have like loved to see Meredith. I think Meredith would have also been a really good pick, but I think Lisa is so great and I love that she kind of had that really emotional moment where she was talking about how she was having so much fun and on Salt Lake City she doesn't necessarily have that because I do think that I'm not too sure if they were filming Salt Lake City during that time, but I do know that we're probably going to have a very heavy next season coming up with Salt Lake City. I think Teresa was the right pick for New Jersey. I understand why Bravo chose Vicki Gunvalson. She is the OG of the OC. She was, kind of one of the ones that started this, but I don't think that she's fun to watch this season. And so I kind of would have loved to see Heather Dubrow or even Tamra Judge. She really, I mean, that scene with Kyle Richards when she was kind of like, yeah, you should be ashamed that you're getting a divorce. I was like, well, are we forgetting about Brooks? Like, are we forgetting that the cancer scam? So I think she kind of has these Debbie Downer moments that don't belong on this show.
Yeah, she does. I mean, even in the first sit down with the women on the first episode of Ultimate Girls Trip, when Teresa is speaking about her time in jail,
Yes.
Vicky kind of blows up at her, or not telling her, telling the group, you always have to pay your taxes, et cetera, et cetera. And it seemed like oddly emotional for the moment. And then on this second episode, we see her kind of saying, oh, actually, that was in reflection of someone on my cast. And it's like, okay, well, this was so not the right time to do that, if that was the case. And it just felt very out of place. Like it seems like Vicky is still expecting the respect from this group of women that she expects from her cast.
Yep.
And this format doesn't really need that.
Yep, I agree. And I think that Vicky, and again, I have loved watching, Vicky on Housewives in the past, but I think that Vicky also needs to realize that yes, she was the beginning cast, but it was the other housewives that took Real Housewives to the next level. Like she didn't build all of this.
Which is so interesting that she kind of feels like she does. She said that in a confessional during the second episode, like all of these women wouldn't be here if it was not for OC, if we didn't deliver seasons 1, 2, and 3. Well, what else? Like,
Exactly.
that was 20 years ago.
Right.
Like, let's move
Exactly.
on.
Exactly. And she wouldn't still be relevant if it wasn't for Atlanta, if it wasn't for Jersey, if it wasn't for the others. So I she needs to eat a humble pie, as my mom would say.
Yeah. Wait, that's funny. I want to double click, like circle back to something you mentioned about Lisa Barlow's emotional confessional moment where she's saying she does not laugh often with her cast. That really broke my heart.
Me too.
And I also feel like this episode delivered a couple more emotional moments that I did not anticipate between Lisa Barlow crying a little bit in her confessional, saying that she wanted to laugh like this regularly, and also Kyle crying about her anniversary date.
Yeah.
That also really broke my heart. And I wasn't expecting that from this episode. The timing was unbelievable.
I know, me too. That really broke my heart as well. And I really wish that she would have had that conversation with any of the other women but Vicki, because I think that she would have gotten a lot. I don't think she was looking for advice. I think she was just looking for someone to hug her and tell her it was going to be okay.
Yeah. I did think it was funny that the show, when they're showing all of the women in the Sprinter band, like highlights when every other woman was divorced. And like Kyle is among people who have experienced this too.
Yes.
And I imagine that in itself was oddly comforting.
Yes. I mean, even look at Teresa Giudice. I mean, if you go back and watch early seasons of New Jersey, you're kind of thinking this woman is never going to leave this man, no matter what. She is going to be ride or die for him. And they ended up divorcing. So, I mean, Kyle should be very proud of her relationship because it really did last a very long time and they still seem to be doing a great job with their kids.
No, I agree. And it makes me sad to hear women in general referring to their divorces as like a failure of their marriage, because I think Kyle and Mauricio are a perfect example of like a marriage that is quite successful, whether or not it is ending.
Yes.
Like they've built such a great life together and like clearly are great co-parents. And I wish someone would tell her that. Like, I want her to be told directly, like, it's fine to get a divorce.
Yes, I agree. Also, like, Vicky's messaging was just so problematic, too, because it's like, well, like, Kyle's children are grown and Kyle's happiness matters, too. I mean, we all saw the rumors about Mauricio, and regardless if they're true or not, for a woman to go through that had to be very difficult. Kyle deserves someone who she's very happy with. She shouldn't get back with Mauricio just because she doesn't want to disappoint fans or because maybe her kids want that. That's what kind of messaging is that sending? So I felt like that was also very boomer of Vicki to give that kind of advice.
Absolutely. And I did think it was interesting that Kyle in her confessional said that she was disappointing fans, that she felt like she was disappointing fans, that people said that her marriage made them believe in love and made them believe in strong relationships. It is interesting to think about in the format specifically of Ultimate Girls Trip. We don't get in general a lot of casts yet that are willing to break that fourth wall as much. But in this format, because it's shorter and it's like a little bit more casual, Kyle can tell us that the reception and the conversations that she can have with fans does really impact her decision making.
I agree. And I feel like that's kind of something that we wanted to see on Beverly Hills. A lot of people were saying Kyle isn't giving enough. She's not opening up enough. She's not giving that. And so that's why I think it's great that she is on Ultimate Girls Trip, because I think, in that conversation, she kind of gave the fans what they wanted. That, like you said, she broke down that fourth wall and kind of talked more about the divorce in more real terms than just, we're great, we're getting along,
Yeah, a little bit of a lighter moment, but also Kyle breaking the fourth wall. Kyle at Sutton's dinner table calling out Gizelle for saying that she would lay horizontal with Mauricio.
Yes.
I couldn't believe she did that. And I was like, this is the Kyle I've been waiting to see.
Yes, I was shocked. I was so shocked because that's something that Kyle would typically just talk about like in a confessional, not at the table with the women.
I mean, I was shocked when I saw it on Potomac. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe we're talking so openly about another housewife's husband.
Yes.
But this is perfect for Kyle to bring it up in this format.
I do.
She's clearly having fun.
Yes, I agree. And I think it's nice to see Kyle like this because it reminds us like why we love Kyle Richards so much, because I think the past couple of seasons of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, it's been tough for her and it's been tough to watch her. So I think seeing her in this more lighter note is just it's nice to see. It reminds everyone why we love Kyle.
Yeah, I agree. I think Ultimate Girls Trip, obviously, as we're speaking about it, it's giving the women a more casual format to be themselves and to connect with an audience. Is there anyone that you are waiting to see like really bloom on this cast?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would maybe say Lisa Barlow. I think that with like Salt Lake City, she doesn't feel comfortable to kind of go there and kind of like really put herself out there. And when she was talking to Portia about like, have you always been like this free and this open? And Portia wasn't. If you go back and watch Atlanta, like when she first joined, she was in this marriage where she didn't feel like she could be herself. And I remember they were in a limo going to a strip club and she was like, I can't go to a strip club. My husband won't allow that, you know? And so you watch Portia now and she is such a fun, light, like great housewife. So I think I would love to see Lisa come out more because I think that this environment will give her that because I think she's more comfortable. She doesn't feel like she's going to be judged or talked about.
I definitely feel like Lisa has a hard time with her cast, and she kind of shared that in her own eyes. But I feel like even watching Salt Lake City the last, whatever, 7 seasons, it's hard to see Lisa continue to be painted as a villain. And what's interesting about that cast is because so many of them have been there from the start, if not all of them, right? Like with the exception of Jen Shaw, they've all been there the whole time.
Right.
So there's not entirely a need for them to fall into those roles of the villain or the hero. And I think today a lot of reality TV viewers like to assign those roles.
Yes.
So it's easier, I think, on the cast to continue to lean into them. It makes me kind of sad for Lisa. And I don't necessarily like or dislike Lisa on Salt Lake.
Same.
And I'm not necessarily a huge Lisa Barlow fan, and she has huge fans, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I don't like her either. Like, I think she adds something very important. And I thought it was interesting that she was chosen for Ultimate Girls Trip because I feel like Heather Gay is such a Bravo sweetheart. Like, they have really capitalized on Heather in a lot of ways. But I think that Lisa was the right choice because it's giving her that space to do something outside of her cast and to show off a different personality.
That's a really good point about Heather. I didn't even think of that, but she is kind of like a Bravo sweetheart. You know, she had her spinoff, and then her daughter did the Peacock mobile show about like University of Miami. So that's actually a really interesting point. I do think though that Lisa lends more to the show than Heather could.
Yeah. The other women all feel like the obvious choice. Like every other cast, like Vicki, of course, was going to be the representative of OC. Kyle, of course, Beverly Hills. Portia, of course, if we were not going to get Nene,
Right.
Portia is the best representative we could have asked for from Atlanta.
Right.
But I think Salt Lake is the one that surprised me. And I'm glad that they went with Lisa.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point.
Even Gizelle on Potomac, I think Gizelle, I'm kind of waiting for her to show off a little bit more in this cast. In her personality. I do feel like she has clearly really been wanting to be a part of this group. Like Gizelle will say vocally that she just doesn't align with her cast. The implication being maybe that she feels a little above them, which is totally fine.
Right.
But she feels like she has some seniority, and being among this group of women, it seems like Gizelle perceives them more as her peers. So I am waiting for her to continue to like lean into that.
Sure.
And to show off a more fun side of her personality, because we have seen that so far. But even at that dinner table, when Kyle is calling her out, Gizelle saying that Gizelle had said she would lie with Mauricio, Gizelle kind of owns up to it.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, I did say that, but I was defending you, but I was.
Right.
And it's like, just laugh about it and move on.
Right.
And I think Gizelle has that, but we haven't fully gotten that yet because it feels like she's almost still not exactly similar to Vicki, but like in some light, holding on to the power she has within her cast.
Sure.
She has seniority. She is an anchor character. I want Gizelle to have fun.
Yeah. Hopefully we get to see that in the future episodes.
I think we will.
I did think it was very interesting when she had kind of that moment with Vicki and Tamra.
Yes.
She kind of stirred the pot a little bit.
Oh, I have a lot of thoughts on that because at first I was like, why would she do this? Like, why would she want to stir the pot in this format where she does not need to? And I don't necessarily think that Ultimate Girls Trip demands drama from these scenes.
Right.
Like, Ultimate Girls Trip to me should be light. But Gizelle stirring the pot at that OC party at Quiet Woman, that to me was a power play.
Yes.
It was like, I am just as much in charge as Vicki is.
Yes, I agree. Which I kind of loved because I think Vicki needs it. So like I was all for it. Even though like I really do love like the lightness of Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip, I kind of did love that drama.
I like the lightness. For whatever reason, I don't necessarily care for the scene fillers,
Hmm.
but I think you need that for the likeness. So, for example, like the scavenger hunt at Sutton's house,
Yes,
I didn't care for that at all. I was
sure.
like, we do not need to be doing this. We don't need to be running around this property
Right.
to let a literal mouse out of a cage.
Right. Right.
Not a literal mouse, you know what I mean? A guy
Right.
in a costume.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think so? I've seen this theory that a lot of people are saying there's been rumors about Crystal Minkoff possibly joining for the next season of Beverly Hills, and that them having that leather pants party was kind of like a soft launch for the possibility. What are your thoughts on that?
I love Crystal.
Me too.
I really, really like Crystal. I would love to see her on Beverly Hills again. For one, I mean, I think from a very high level, her wealth is important to this cast.
Hmm.
I think this is a cast that likes to talk about their wealth, especially last season with Amanda Francis and Rachel Zoe. I think that Crystal would fit right in
Hmm.
to those conversations, and there is a lot less questioning their status within the group. And Beverly Hills likes to do that a lot. Like, are you one of us or are you out?
Hmm.
And on a more personal note, I think Crystal is a lot of fun to watch because she is really smart. She can spar verbally. I think she can really engage. And I think when we see Crystal having fun, she is really having fun. I think Crystal's a very dynamic housewife, and I would love to see her on Beverly Hills again.